Let's have a conversation. What type of camera should you buy for vlogging? The answer may shock you. We can break this down into one of 5 categories: a DSLR, mirrorless, cell phone, action camera, or point and shoot. Pretty much everyone who makes YouTube videos, they use one of these 5 types of cameras, if not all of these. So in order to come up with some kind of answer, some kind of recommendation, we've got to really try to think about what do YouTube vloggers do? What do vloggers in general do with their cameras? And it's not just about what you want, it's what you actually physically do. What is actually going to be most useful for you? One of the things is going to be action camera activities, which is going to be waterproofing. Is your camera waterproof? Can it be waterproofed? Another one is walk and talk. This is basically image stabilization. Does your camera have image stabilization? Can image stabilization be added with the use of a lens which has IS? Low light performance. How big is the sensor size on your camera? Cameras with a larger sensor size give better low light performance. Attaching a microphone. Can it be done? Yes or no? Attaching a tripod. How easy is it to attach to a tripod? DSLRs and mirrorless cameras attached to tripods easier than GoPros and cell phones. How portable is it? Can you take it with you everywhere, or is it this gigantic big hunk that takes up space in your backpack? And what features does it have? Does it have multiple frame rates? Does it have time-lapse, slow motion? Because you're going to want these features when you go to editing. Now I just need to explain a little bit about how I'm scoring this, because new cameras are gadgets, and gadgets are always coming out all the time. There's always new ones coming out. So how can you possibly come up with an answer, being that the technology is always constantly changing? The scores that I put down here are based on what has happened historically with these devices. It includes both new cameras and old cameras, and what is commonplace for this particular camera. So we've got our score criteria right here. Now you'll see that not every criteria has the same number of points. We have a total of 15 points for all the criteria added up together, because some criteria, they are basically a yes or no answer. Some of them have, just a small range of variables, and some of them have a larger range of variables. For example, features, which would be how many frame rates, styles of shooting the camera has. If it has just a small amount of variance or a larger amount of variance, that is going to give a larger point score. Whereas, for example, something like attaching to a tripod, that's just going to be yes or no. Or attaching a microphone is just going to be yes or no, because either it can or it can't. So let's start scoring these things and see how the scores come out. The humble cellular telephone scores 1 for action activities, i.e. waterproofing, because some cell phones can be waterproof or they are water resistant. For walk and talk, they get 1 because some cell phones do have image stabilization. Low light performance, the score is 1. Some modern cell phones have image stabilization, but older ones don't. Same thing applies to low light performance, another score of 1 for low light performance. Again, modern cell phones do better than older cell phones. Attaching a microphone, another score of 1 for cell phones. Again, some of them can, some of them can't. I don't know what Apple is thinking with their latest smartphones, taking away their headphone jack. Just absolutely ridiculous. Attaching a tripod, a score of 0. Cell phones are not meant to be attached to tripods. Yes, you can do it, you can buy adapters, but the actual cell phone itself cannot easily and quickly be attached to a tripod. For portability, a full score of 3, of course, no surprises there. And what features does it have? 2 out of 3, giving us a total of 9 for the humble cell phone. Action cameras, such as the Gopro or the Xiaomi, small action cameras. In terms of waterproofing, action activities, well, of course, that's got a full score of 2 out of 2. Walk and talk, image stabilization, that's a 1 out of 2. Some action cameras have it, some do not. Low light performance and attaching a microphone, a score of 0 each. The fact of the matter is that when it comes to a GoPro, the sensor size on these cameras is very small. They do not give very good low light performance. Attaching a microphone, while possible to a GoPro, is a pain in the ass. Just due to the fact that you have to buy adapters to actually attach a microphone, via a 3.5mm jack. For attaching a tripod, it gets a score of 1. An action camera can be attached to a tripod, but they're generally designed with that generic GoPro style of mount. And those GoPro mounts are not the same are not the usual attachment you have for a tripod. How portable is it? Well, again, the action camera gets a score of 3. You know, action cameras, GoPros, they're very small, they're very lightweight, they're very portable. And what features does it have? A 2 out of 3 score. Some GoPros, they do have a variety of features, but often not quite as much as a high-end DSLR or mirrorless. So that's a score of 9. The DSLR, arguably the holy grail of cameras. In terms of action activities, waterproofing, it gets a 0. You do not want to take a DSLR anywhere near water. Walk and talk, image stabilization, that gets a score of 1. Some DSLRs have it, some do not, because DSLRs have been around for a long time and the older ones don't have image stabilization. Low light performance, DSLR gets a score of 2. 2 out of 2. We say 2 out of 2 here because whilst some DSLRs are probably not quite as good as other ones, they are all generally much better than all of the other categories. DSLR will generally do better than an action camera, cellphone, a point and shoot and a mirrorless in terms of low light performance. They offer the best low light performance compared to all other cameras. Attaching a microphone gets a score of 1. Most DSLRs do have a microphone jack. Attaching a tripod gets a score of 2. DSLRs have that standard, have the standard size screw underneath them to attach a tripod. How portable is it? DSLRs get a score of 0. They absolutely suck in terms of portability. They're big, they're heavy, they're bulky, they take up a metric fuck ton of space in your bag. And what features does it have? The DSLR gets a score of 3 out of 3. They do have a variety of different frame rates and shooting features they have, giving us a total score for the DSLR of 9. Do you see a pattern emerging here? The point and shoot, action activities, waterproofing, we get a score of 0. They're just not that good in terms of waterproofing. Walk and talk, image stabilization. Some point and shoots have it, some do not, is a score of 1. Low light performance, another score of 1. Some point and shoots have quite a good large sensor like the Sony RX100. Some of them have a small sensor and they're absolutely rubbish for low light performance. Attaching a microphone, a score of 0. Most and pretty much all point and shoots, at least all the ones that I've seen, you cannot attach a microphone. They suck. You are stuck with the onboard audio. Attaching a tripod, a full score of 2 out of 2, just the same as the DSLR. How portable is it? A score of 3. You know, point and shoots like cell phones and GoPros, they are very small, fantastic in terms of transporting them, portability. And in terms of features, we've got a 2 out of 3. Some of the older point and shoots, not quite so good, but the modern ones, they do have things like slow motion, time lapse, high frame rates. They are feature-rich, modern point and shoots. Last but not least, the mirrorless camera. How does this one stack up? For action activities, we've got a 0. They're just like a DSLR, they're not waterproof, they are not ideal for action activities. In terms of walk and talk, we've got a score of 1. Some mirrorless have image stabilization, some do not. For low light performance, another score of 1. Again, some have large sensors, some do not. For attaching a microphone, we've got a score of 1. Pretty much every mirrorless has a 3.5mm mini jack. In terms of attaching a tripod, we have a score of 2. Again, just like the DSLR, no problem attaching a tripod. How portable is it? We've got a score of 2 out of 3. Mirrorless is smaller than DSLR, lighter than a DSLR, but still bigger than all of the other options. So not a full score of 3 there for the mirrorless. What features does it have? A score of 2 out of 3. Again, mirrorless cameras, they haven't been around quite as long as DSLRs have been around, so you don't quite have that wide variety of shooting modes and features, so not quite a full score of 3 there. Giving us a score, again, of 9. Okay, I want to be really open and transparent with the conclusion of this video. This is how I scored all of this criteria when trying to discover what is the best camera style, the best style of camera you could buy for vlogging. And I wrote down all of this stuff on this bit of paper exactly as I've read it out in this video, and everything come up with a score of 9. How does that... Why is it that way? Well, I guess the fact of the matter is that some cameras are good in some circumstances, other cameras are good in other circumstances, and there is no best camera. There is only the best camera for what you want to do, which I suppose is going to be a video topic for the future. There you have it. The answer is shocking. There simply is no best camera. I've scored them all, I've ranked them all, I've tried to find the best. There is no best. See you in the next camera video.